Hello, ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between and beyond. My name is Taylor, and this is Utopia Must Fall, a small indie, kind of Space Invaders-like game, I suppose, developed and published by Pixel Jam Studios. So thank you to Pixel Jam for the code. I did get a review code through Press Engine, so thank you to Press Engine as well for the code. Now, Utopia Must Fall, or Utopia as I will be referring to it, is an interesting game because it's, just a very classic play on, as I said, Space Invaders, except you're not mobile in this version. You are stationary, you play a city defending yourself from aliens and asteroids, but you get small upgrades per each run. I want to stress, this is not a roguelite, this is a roguelike, meaning that there is no meta progression. Now, the game did originally release, it's still in early access, on September 9th, 2024, and has been getting steadily updated throughout that time. It does say there is no meta progression yet. So, there may be meta progression in the future, but the version that I played did not have that. And honestly, I kind of think it's better for it. Now, don't get me wrong, I do enjoy a good roguelite, I keep mixing those two up, every once in a while. Admittedly, it's not my genre in terms of playing every single one that comes out or spending thousands of hours in them, but it is something I can enjoy from time to time, like something like Hades, or just a really well-crafted experience. The problem is, and I think the problem that this game would run into specifically, is that meta progression can really break game balance. Now, I did a couple runs, I played about 45 minutes because, again, there's no meta progression, so I kind of did each run figuring out, okay, what does this upgrade path do? Because it does have branching upgrades for each run, and you can kind of see, visually speaking, where those upgrades are going to go. And that's really interesting. And I think part of what made it so interesting is the fact that there was no meta progression for me to fall back on. There was no continual power creep between each run. Oh, getting more currency, or getting different upgrades, or maybe starting with certain upgrades. So I think it's in a unique position where it's able to still kind of mimic and replicate that old arcadey sense without pulling in too much of the modern day mechanics that some people probably love, but I think not having them sets itself apart from its competition more than having it would. Now, specifically with this update, also known as the industrial update, it seems like they've done a lot of quality of life upgrades, better visualized the skill tree, which I think is great, and added in drone factories and kind of more autonomous things, or industry, right? So two of the ones that I tried out were the laser drones and the shield drones. I did find laser drones and just like more flying autonomous drones. I did find I liked the flying drones better than the laser drones because they had more range. And one thing that I noticed with this game is because of the lack of mobility, I found myself not frustrated, but a little bit annoyed, or a little bit miffed, so to speak, about the rate at which my one primary gun was able to kind of, sweep across the screen. If I've got something on my far left and something on my far right, dealing with one and then the next felt a little slow, and you can upgrade that, but it kind of, is random as to whether or not you get an upgrade for your gun movement speed. I don't remember what they called it. So I think this game does need a little bit more balancing to kind of just get that feel, just right in terms of the movement speed around your gun to make sure you're not just moving like crazy, but also to make sure you're able to move from one portion of the map to the next in a reasonable time and it doesn't feel unfair. Now, as I said, the game has a lot of different skills that you can try out, whether that's upgrading your shield to do shock damage, or upgrading your gun, upgrading the nukes / missiles that you can fire. There's a lot of different ways to play, and it's always focused on, okay, get the highest score you can, get as far in this run as you can, using whatever upgrades you earned during that run, and then start fresh, start new. And each city is kind of just randomly generated. You get Neo Paris, I think New Cairo, and there was one more, I don't remember what the other one was, and a random year, like 21 something. So it's a really nice game for, again, that classic arcadey feel, and I think it's going to stand out more not putting in meta progression if the developers decide to go in that direction, because I feel like it'll just fall into the sea of sci-fi shooter roguelites with meta progression. And I also worry about how the game would balance itself with that meta progression in place as well. One thing, And I can't believe I'm saying this, because if you've watched my channel for any period of time, you know I don't like multiplayer games, let alone competitive multiplayer games. But I think this game, surprisingly, would benefit from a competitive mode where one person controls the city. You know, like the regular base game, they control the city, they get upgrades between each night, but another player controls the enemies. Not necessarily has full autonomy in where the enemies go, but maybe where on the map they spawn, what enemies spawn in at what rates, and then like every day they get access to a new suite of enemies or a new larger number of enemies to throw at their competition. And you kind of see how quickly you can overwhelm the defending player. Now, I understand that even at the outset, that could have some serious balancing issues as to making sure the defending player doesn't feel like they're always just being absolutely shafted, but also not making the offensive player, the one, you know, controlling the enemies, feel like they have no teeth in sending out their units. But I think it would be really interesting to kind of, you know, create that competition, create that almost unique experience where it is head-to-head in a genre that's not usually, you know, kind of this competitive format. And it could be a really interesting take on the Space Invaders formula. Another one could be, they had upgrades for civilian populations, for like the humans of your city. Now, I don't know if they've planned this, but I think it'd be cool to have like story events, or if panic in your citizens reaches a certain level, they might try to overthrow the government, and you have to like manage both your defenses but also your civilian populations and try to keep those both in check, which could add another layer of kind of complexity to the game. Now, I understand that all of this might make the game more complex than what the developers are going for. I don't know how simple they want to keep the concept, because it is very simple right now, and I don't think that's a bad thing by any means. But if they are looking to make it complex, rather more complex, those are definitely two ways that I think would be really interesting and would help set the game apart from its competition than just, and I don't want to assume it would be generic, but then we'll say for now, generic meta progression system that kind of falls in line with everything else in the market in terms of roguelites. I think it's a great homage to the classic Space Invaders, and definitely one worth checking out if you're into that style of game. Now, it does retail for about $8 Canadian-ish, so I'm assuming around like $6, $7 US, somewhere around there. It is not a big ask, financially speaking, and it's one of those games where the level of replayability is absolutely up to you. You know, like I said, played for an hour and I was about good with it, but you could get 4, 5, 6 hours with just, you know, score chasing. But then imagine, again, let's say the citizen events, or let's say competitive play with a buddy, you can get so much more out of that. And I'm assuming the game will continue to be updated, continue to grow and kind of mold into their final vision. And I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like. So if you enjoyed the, game, please feel free to check it out. Links in the description down below. Like, comment, subscribe would really help out the channel. I really appreciate it. And with all that being said, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!